Welcome,
Okay.
everyone. This is Work Made Human. I'm Nichole Mendez, Director of Talent Acquisition here at BAM. Joining us today as a guest live from Tampa is Chitra Kanagaraj, COO and co founder of PikMyKid. Chitra, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Nicole. Thanks even for creating this opportunity to have this chat.
Absolutely. So, jumping right into things, behind every startup, there's a very human story to tell. And that's exactly why we do this podcast, right? Work Made Human. And behind that, there's oftentimes that kind of aha moment that essentially sparked the entire thing. So, can you tell us more? What was that moment for you? And how did that essentially shape the same story you're now trying to write with Pick My Kid?
Absolutely. And to amplify that background, right? So, my background was on the enterprise solutioning, and when I have been in the industry for 25 years, so solving customer problems. I was a happy corporate person, right? And definitely a story that really made me to go into this business. We work with schools as Pick My Kid, school safety solutions, so which means we are daily dealing with school staff, teachers, and parents, right? The story behind, I just want to take you there so you can visualize it and you will see like why it is, right? So 10 years ago, my co-founder and my partner goes to this very ordinary day moment, like everybody else, right? To the car line in the school at 2:30 when dismissals happen. Cars backed up, and teachers are managing sea of students. Parents are inching forward, eyes watching at the car in front of you, and you're also looking at whether the students are crossing so that there is no accident, and also waiting for your child to get on board, right? It's a controlled chaos. This is a kind of thing we all accept to be normal, right? So
Mhm.
it's rush and chaos, but it so happens a different child, not my own kid, is put in the car. So that was a moment of, oh shit,
Yeah.
wrong child in my car. Everyone was safe, and the mistake was corrected quickly. Obviously, the teacher, the parent realized that, hey, what is this happening in my car, right? But that split second turned out to be what a happy ending would be for every parent when they go into the car line or during the dismissal to see their child reunified, to like, oh no, this is a disastrous day for us and the staff for that matter, right? And then that question stayed with us after that shocking event to say that how are we even trusting to reunite hundreds of children to their families within the 20 to 30 minutes end of day, with the cars piling up, network neighborhood traffic putting the pressure on the schools, right? Student names being called on walkie-talkie, and kids running around, kids being kids, right? That was that realization that dawned on us to say that we can do something different, right? Instead of taking this as a status quo, let's do something different. So that was our aha moment or oh shit moment. I've been saying that,
A pretty big one.
yes, instead of going and complaining and blaming school for the problem, you as a parent who understands technology and can problem solve, can we do something about it? Uh,
Mhm.
so that was our moment, and that's how Pick My Kid started.
Yeah. You touched on it. Again, I don't have any kiddos, but my sister's a teacher. I have a little brother who's 17 years younger than me. And it's, as you mentioned, it's so ordinary, right? It happens essentially every single day, at least Monday through Friday. And it's chaotic, but it's routine.
Yep.
So it sounds like essentially what it feels like on paper can be just a small logistical problem is essentially a bigger and everyday, but it's really a safety issue, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So
You recognize that it was absolutely worth solving. So I think that aha moment, not everyone has that big aha moment like you did, but for so many, whether it's startups or big corporate companies, there's so many innovations that start when, similarly to you, somebody just takes a beat and says, why are we still doing things this way, right? There's just room for improvement, there's room for innovation. So looking back, Was it your enterprise tech background, or do you think it was your perspective as a frustrated parent, or both, that essentially gave you the most permission to say, we've got to break the old way of doing things?
Yes. Yeah. Firstly, the frustration, right? So obviously, as a parent, the shock and the frustration that it can go wrong like this for so many other parents too, made us to make this first step towards it. Obviously, that permission and the confidence to pull it off was my enterprise background, and now yes, there is solutions available. So typically, like every other parent, or maybe every other person thinking about how to solve this, we also went to the market, right?
Mm-hmm.
Immediately you're looking for what is the best solution available in the market that I can get it to my school, so that way I've solved the problem, right? So the first instant reaction for us was, if I find a tool and I can hand it over to the school, I've done my part to keep my school safer. But when we did that research and we were looking for a solution, and when we could not find even a single solution available in the market for this problem, now this looked at as, for me as a problem solver, a bigger opportunity, not just one school, but for the 140,000 schools in this market, right? So that's how we looked at the cost benefit analysis. If there is no solution, how can we solve it, but also look at it from the scaling up of this solution for the other schools, not just my own school.
Beautiful. You have a well-versed resume, right? So you came from big corporate environment, and then you pivoted and said, hey, I'm going to start PikMyKid, right? So you became the founder. What do you feel like you had to unlearn when you started building your own company?
It's interesting that you asked this question. And 20 years into corporate, it's not easy to unlearn. So there's a lot of things you learn through your career, right? You don't even know that you have learned those things from the corporate. So,
and they serve you in the moment, I'm sure, but yeah.
exactly. Right. So there's a lot of guardrails you have, right? There's a lot of resources you have, and there's a lot of structure that you have through corporate, which you didn't even realize till you came into your founder's seat to look at it from that angle, right? So um, I, it was a learning moment for me. So whenever there is an idea and say that let's do it, there is no let's do it, you do it, right? So that's the first thing as a founder you find it. Uh, so every time I looked at things as a founder, I had to think about it as, do I wait for clarity of things, right? Do I look for a structure and a perfection of an answer, or just do as you go and learn from the mistakes and pick it up from there? So that was a big learning for me, to say that, okay, never look for a perfection. When you have an idea, when you have a little direction on what you want to do, step into it, right? The mistakes could be, you can fail early, at least you will be able to recover and work with it, rather than waiting for, you have a good risk plan and you have a guardrails and you have enough resources. So that was a unlearn relearn moment, which was kind of very difficult in the initial stages. But once you get into it, it is so much fun to be in this part of the world, because you get to try what you love and work with it.
Yeah. And I think the most relevant thing, whether you're in corporate, whether you're working for a startup, whether you're entry level or you're the founder, everybody resonates with, it's the uncomfortability, right? And the fear comes from that. This doesn't feel good. I don't know what happens next. We try something. But I always say, you try something and you have to fail to essentially keep the lesson, right? Or to get a new perspective. So you launched PikMyKid through the USF Connect incubator while you were finishing your MBA. So definitely multitasking there. Now that you're CEO of a startup, how do you feel that you keep that student innovation mindset alive? And I think you just touched on this. So I'll guess your answer, but would you encourage teams to experiment and fail with that same curiosity that you held right back in the incubator?
So again, the background will give you a little more on how this whole journey would evolve for us, right? So Tampa Bay, 10 years ago, when we were starting our company, the whole entrepreneurship ecosystem was just evolving, right? So USF Connect, we were the first cohort in USF Connect, right? So there were few accelerators and incubators coming up. So, which means we had the burden on us to be the perfect founders, which can encourage other founders in the ecosystem to follow through, right? Be inspired of. And similarly, if we had to work doubly hard to get the investors, so that the rest of the companies can follow, or the investors can follow, right? So they can find the best companies to invest. So which means with all these things happening, definitely USF Connect gave us more than what we were looking for, which is, as a student, when you go into this whole platform, you're not only looking at your own company, but you're looking at the other incubator students, to how they build, what they learn from those mistakes, and how we can relearn, right? So that gave us a little more leeway into a lot of quick learning on resources, which otherwise we would not have got, right? And to your point of um, experiment and failing, it definitely was a place where we could do that, because we could experiment and we could get our resources within the university ecosystem to help us fail. But the only thing after learning through the mistakes, what I would say is, do it with an intent, right? Don't go in with saying that, yeah, if I do it and fail, that's okay with it. It should be intention to make it work, and like, you plan for what should happen after that. So if you have that, and if your goal isn't failure, it's definitely a better way to learn. And that's what I think a lot of students do now, without even knowing that's what they are trying to accomplish.
Yeah, and to your point, right, you had a lot of pressure being in Tampa at the time that you were there, but also having the support of the system around you. So that also just, brings to mind, we experiment, we fail with intent, but also ask for help. If you're lucky to have the team and the resources, even if again, it's uncomfortable, sometimes you've just got to ask for help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most people want to root for you, right? And support how they can.
Yes, exactly. No, and the best thing is that the resources are available for free when
Mhm.
you're in that ecosystem. Which, even if you're not looking for them, like, there's not always, as a founder, you're not prepared for a lot of things, right? So you are focused on certain things, but when you are in this kind of an ecosystem where things are like, when you have enough resources who can tell you, did you check on these things, did you guys do these things, right? Even if we didn't think about it, these resources are giving you those options to plan for it. So it's like a quick template available for you to start off, right? And then you go from there.
From there. You touched on this as well earlier. There's a lot of talk right now about work life balance essentially being a myth, or it's not attainable, or it's the old way of doing things. And now it seems integration is the new goal. So you probably know this very well. As a husband and wife founding team, you essentially are the ultimate example of what work life integration looks like. So, what has building this company together taught you about the boundaries required to keep climbing the ladder, building and scaling your startup, and keeping the career part healthy, but also keeping the personal life healthy?
Yeah. No, I think work like integration. When I saw this terminology, it came into. I was laughing at it, saying that, okay, people have realized that balance is an old thing, right? You have to. This is the reality. Your work does not go away from you as soon as you leave the office or leave your work desk, right? And so, thinking about it as an integrated fashion, and how you balance off between these two worlds, I would say, is the biggest thing that we struggle every day, right? And more so, even when you have your partner also the co-founder, initially it was difficult, right? So your dinner table conversations are business, right? Your car drives, you're going somewhere, your holidays becomes your conversation about what can we do differently, how can we do differently, right? So um, it took us a little time to learn into it. So I saw the benefits as well as the challenges, and we started putting boundaries around it, right? One biggest benefit what I saw was, like, you found a trustworthy partner with whom you can share ideas even if it is not um, played out yet, right? So having that confidential brainstorming about ideas, and it could be it could be a very high risk ideas, right? But you get to talk about it and get balance it off. So that was a benefit out of this whole relationship. On the other side, right, knowing our boundaries, that was very, very critical for us, right? So knowing that we don't step into each other's boundaries, building that boundaries and putting your personal space. These were very critical to get this going successfully. So if we didn't do these things, either company would have taken over our personal life completely, or the other way around, right? The personal life would have gone for a toss, and we would not have had both of them, neither the company nor the family. So it took us some time finding those boundaries, and putting that workflow. Simplest thing is, I'm a night person, so which means I get all my work done in the night. And mornings before I come into office, I need that Zen moment, re-energizing, right? So, and my partner is the other way around. He has to completely, get himself up. He has to get the work out of his system in the night, and he will do everything in the morning. So we're like, okay, this is your boundaries, right? You don't bother me in the night, I don't bother you in the morning, right? And when we go into the work, we go with the clarity of what we want to do. And certain problems, putting those boundaries to say that, okay, this problem, what we're discussing, should be, let's put it to pause and plan it, talk about it in the morning when you are in the work setup. Also gives us a little more clarity on thinking. So it is an art, I would say, right? But at the same time, to make sure that you are able to, the most important thing you have to understand is relationship is the most important thing, and that can build the trust and the company and that further. That was a very key thing for us to understand, like, let's not spoil the relationship we have and the trust we have in this. Then we can build anything we want from there.
Yeah, and most folks aren't building startups, with their partners, but that just brings to mind you can have, whether it's with your boss or your direct reports or your teams overall,
Yeah.
that part, it's the relationship part and just communicating, hey, in the morning, this is what I need in the first hour if it's feasible. A lot of us work hybrid or work remote. So for me, for example, I've had to stick to the boundary of my hard stop is on my calendar. And then
Yeah.
it's a routine of I close the laptop, put it away. Because if not, you get stuck, right? And just like you said, you start talking about work and the personal life and
Yeah.
it bleeds over. So,
Yeah. And this has been a standard template that we followed for the rest of the leadership, and now the rest of the team, and then the leadership does it with the rest of them, right? For as soon as anybody who joins us, like the first week is spent on the relationship, just understand what's your comfort zone, where do you, what are your nuances, what are the place, like, which is non-starter for you, and which is a place, which is a time which you do not want to be bothered, right? These are nuances of the things. Think about it, and then when you have the next conversation and the next meetings and relationships around, okay, I know between 2 and 3 is your pickup time,
yeah,
right? We would make sure it is blocked for you, and we do not. Your lunch time is very, very important for you, so we would not. But so these smaller things, when you put it into that relationship, they now have the empathy and the trust on you to say that, okay, no, I see them as a real partner who understands the boundaries, and then now they go above and beyond to get things done for us.
yeah. And that translates into kindness and just caring, really. Touching on that, there's a massive shift specifically in Gen Z and millennial parents viewing the integration of work and life. So, as somebody who's been there and who understands that world so intimately, and you've seen the back end of school to work to home transition every day, what's one thing you wish workplaces understood or just listened to, right, parents about the modern realities of the working parent?
So the most important reality, I mean, given the current society we live in, right? The personal life of everybody is equally important, right? So when you look at it as a working parent, or the Gen Zs who are coming into the system, they're now learning to get into a system where they have to be more responsible, because they come from the parents having to take care of everything, and now they are independent. So which means they are getting into the new responsibilities, but at the same time, um, they are also challenged between the balance in work-life balance, right? Because they've never had to do both together, right? They have seen their parents doing it, but they never had to do it. But they are in this era where everything is social, right, and everything is online. So they do get a lot of distractions, right? So they have more distractions than the previous generations, where they were like, okay, if I'm in office between 9 to 5, I have somebody, a childcare and something else taking care of my things at home, right? I'm focused. But at 5, I go back and then I can shift my thinking hat about family versus the work. Whereas now everything is slowly merging, right? So there is no boundaries. The most challenging thing, what I see the Gen Z struggle, and where probably the employers can think about it, all they are looking for is a little empathy and the trust in them, right? The moment you give that trust and the empathy, they're not going to skip one for the other, right? You will see that they are showing the same commitment on both the sides, and letting them show that, letting them exhibit, or letting them prove themselves into that requires a little time. So give them that time. Like if you don't show the trust and the empathy that, hey, I've been in your shoes, we have done the same in the past, and I'm going to get you this time, so you figure it out and let me know, goes a long way with this generation, so that they feel confident to sustain. The confidence is the most important thing for them. And if we don't give them the trust, they are losing the confidence. And that's where the biggest challenge comes in.
Touching on the trust and the relationships, and going back to the Tampa Bay communities, you're so deeply intertwined with the Thai Tampa Bay mentoring founders, building community in a world where networking can feel so transactional, or the pressure, right? Everything's very social, just like sending connections on LinkedIn. How has being, I guess, two questions. So, one, why is it vital for leaders to invest in mentorship as not just a part of their work, but a core pillar of their work? And how has being a mentor helped you, if at all, become a better COO?
Both are very valid, and probably 10 years ago I may not have had the right answer for it, right? Because I've not seen the benefits of this whole relationship. One is, again, Thai is one of the nonprofit organizations I am, but a lot of founders have so many other nonprofit foundations or organizations they work with.
Mhm.
The core principle of Thai was to pay forward, which means give first before you ask. And so that stuck with us very deeply, saying that we always go into any events or any conversation thinking that, what am I going to get out of it, right? This flip the conversation and say that, what are you planning to give in this conversation first before you ask for more, gave a different mindset and the thought process, right? So that's what pulled me towards this community and the whole mentorship conversation. The two important things I learned, right? So when you go into the mentorship and you have those conversations, you always think that you're giving a lot of subject matter expertise or guidance to the others. Interesting enough, I gained more out of that conversation than giving them, which is, one, what do I know? What is that I don't know, right? And what is my level of confidence in executing similar scenario? And how is the other person thinking about it, right? So it was definitely a lot of learning for me from the mentorship conversation, right? And the other thing is, when you go into this kind of a community, even though you're trying to help one or two companies, you are doing a broader good and becoming part of a broader community where you're giving back, right? So that really helped me to look at it from a different angle. One, not only gaining my what I would have otherwise not done in my company, but learning it from others, but at the same time looking at, as a broader community, what is that we could do different, which has not happened in the past, that can change the entire community, right? How can we take this whole region as one step notch, or what can this region focus on in a different trajectory, because we see all of us doing tech projects or all of us doing a life science. So which means, if that's the strength of this community, why don't we nurture that kind of a community here, build
And it
more?
feels good, right? I'm sure.
It is. It is. At the end of the day, when you come out of it, you feel that you have definitely given back
Mhm.
all those benefits you have gained over the 10 years. That's why I said that 10 years ago, probably I would not have had this feeling. But today, when I see these groups and when I work with them, though I learn a lot, it feels so nice that I feel justified that I've been able to give back to all those mentors that I have gained from, or all those, incubators where I had learned and helped other companies grow now.
I know we're almost at time, Chitra. No pressure. I think I'm gonna throw out a bit of a fun question if you'll entertain me. Um, what looking back, because you've done it all. You're doing the founder thing, you've done the corporate thing. As a kid, if you can remember, what did you want to be when you grew up? And do you see that playing out in what you get to do today as an adult in any way?
I I mean, I think I had a lot of curveballs in my journey, and I would have never thought that I would be doing this. Now, to start back on, my dad used to be an entrepreneur, right? Growing up, growing in that household, I was very clear in my head that I'm not going to be a businessman. The amounts of risks and the amounts of challenges that you go through, the reward risk to reward ratio is high. But still, when I looked at it, it's like I need to graduate. I need to find a job where I will not have to go through this, right? But as luck could have it, right? So it sits in your head, and when you go through your career and the journey, and when you reach a point where problems are thrown at you, the thing that comes into, like, I need to solve that problem, right? Then I realized, okay, it's not going to go away from your gene. Like, if you see a problem and you want to solve the problem and you jump in, this is exactly what probably my dad would have done, or that's what he was doing, but I could not appreciate at that time. But now when I go back and look at it, I never thought I would be an entrepreneur, or I never planned to be an entrepreneur. But luck would have it, your ability to, or your eagerness to solve a problem converts into a business solution and goes into this direction. I did not plan for it.
You couldn't run away from it, though, it sounds like.
Mm, yes,
It
exactly.
happened for you. Um, Chitra, it's been so, so lovely having you here today on Work Made Human. Everybody, this is Chitra Kanagaraj, COO and co-founder of PikMyKid. One final question I would love to ask you before I let you go. What gives you hope about the future of work?
It's it's a there is a lot of potential. The
Mhm.
most important thing I'm seeing, and I'm very eager, as I'm looking forward for the rest of the future, is how the AI is going to play an important role, right? And how much of guardrails we are going to put in place, because it's a new animal in the system, right? And everybody is so excited about that being part of your day-to-day routine, right? It's like those internet era, like when the internet came for the first time, people didn't know what was going to happen, how it was going to be used. There was a lot of skepticism, but there was also a lot of excitement, right? um, Today we are where we are with, there is no other way, like we could have not done anything without internet. So that's the same phase we are now with the AI. So definitely there is more that next generation is going to see as a benefit out of the AI. But at the same time, this generation, I think, and I urge everybody to make that a responsible action, so that the rest of the companies, the rest of the entrepreneurs, rest of the founders who come in next after us are able to benefit out of it, rather than see the other side of it.
Yeah.
Right? But that's the excitement, but with a caution.
Intentionality, what you touched on, and keeping the human in work, keeping the human in AI.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Chitra. It was a pleasure.